A ministry of Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child, is a fulfilling ministry to both the giver and the receiver. Perhaps like me, you have had the chance to actually fill a shoebox full of hygiene items, school supplies, clothes, and even an extra special toy. It's amazing the difference that shoebox turned gift box can make when it's shipped around the world to needy boys and girls. Now, you may be wondering, what does this have to do with helping the homeless here in Fort Wayne, Indiana? Well, I've interviewed many Fort Wayne, Indiana community members, and an amazing thing kept coming to light. There are resources available for the homeless here in Fort Wayne. However, these resources like shampoos, conditioners, soaps, they all need to keep being replenished. And if they're not supplied by the public, then the shelter themselves have to purchase the items. Now, this is significant because in order to keep people off the streets and into shelters, the shelters need the funds to be able to care for the ones that are already in the shelter. Churches in Fort Wayne, Indiana should advertise for, collect, and plan for the delivery of the items needed for the homeless, such as shampoos, conditioners, and the various other things on their lists. This past year, Christ's Community Church actually held such a collection. Items from flip-flops to shampoo to baby oil to even a vacuum was collected by the church and given to the mission. This was a great blessing to the mission, not only for the ones that they are caring for in the shelter themselves, but also the ones that are on the streets currently that may come to the mission seeking help for the basic necessities they need to survive. Now, homelessness is a reality, obviously, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and is a rather common one. Bob Herman, the tour guide at the rescue mission, had said that between 30 to 50 families are turned away each month. Now, Shirley Rourke, a receptionist for the Just Neighbors Interfaith Homeless Network, said that every day there are several families turned away. Now, this is significant because Aaron Brown, who is a national director for Destiny Rescue in Fort Wayne, Indiana, an anti-human trafficking agency, had said that homelessness and human trafficking are definitely linked. I learned from Jamie Daling, a counselor who has worked with homeless in the past, that there is a train route running from Chicago to Fort Wayne. Now, this can pose a problem because of a 33% sample group of female commercial sex workers in Chicago began in the sex trade between the ages of 12 and 15, with 56% being 16 or younger. This was in a report made by Abigail L. Kurtz. She's the senior policy advisor to the Indiana Attorney General. Now, if Chicago and Fort Wayne are linked, that means unfortunately traffickers who are getting workers for the sex trade could come to Fort Wayne looking for homeless women and children, and even men and boys. The sad thing is that in Fort Wayne, Indiana, I learned from Bob Herman, the average age of a homeless person is 9 years old. Can you imagine being outside in below freezing weather, even at 9 years old or as an adult? Sadly, a lot of the kids that are on the streets may repeat the patterns of their homeless parents because if there's no address for a bus to pick you up, and if your parents don't own a car, how are you going to get to school? Wendy Huring, who works with homeless children in the Fort Wayne, Indiana community, said that she wholeheartedly believes education affects a person's quality of life, and it does. Now, people being on the street equals a greater risk for those individuals, not because they're causing crime, but because they're more at risk of being victimized. It's important to get them the supplies they need so traffickers and others who could victimize them are not able to. Now, according to Wayne's staff, Homelessness Awareness Week occurs the week before Thanksgiving every year. This would be a wonderful time to collect items for the homeless because the Rescue Mission sends out emails advertising this Homelessness Awareness Week. How great would it be to advertise a collection drive around the same time? There would be a cost, of course. Now, the goods to be purchased would be, as I said before, shampoos, conditioners. These are relatively cheap and can be found on sale throughout the year. There would be other items that each individual shelter needs, but those could be found online and advertised for in the paper or on the television or radio. These ads could be taken out by combined ads, such as the email that I mentioned. It could also be individual ads. People like myself or others who already care about the homeless could make radio and television ads for a very short cost. The church that holds a collection could also wind up collecting these items after there is a collection held at the church, actually signifying, hey, we're taking a collection to buy items for the homeless and to advertise for this collection. Will you help us with that? This will lead to other programs at the church not receiving funds, but as I mentioned before, it's mostly individually based, like volunteers and others who are looking to already help the homeless would be the ones purchasing the items or giving money for the purchase of the items. Thus, once the items are at the church, naturally, this leads to getting the items from the church to where they need to go. This could happen in two ways. Either volunteers from the church, like elders or deacons, or just anyone who has a trustworthy reputation, could take the items from the church and deliver it to the homeless shelters in Fort Wayne. Additionally, places like the Rescue Mission actually have drivers who will come to a house or a business to pick up items as long as you schedule this pickup with them. That would lead to a gas cost for the shelter or for the volunteers taking the items, but this is minimized by the fact that these resources are going to help individuals in the community, which also helps the community. Now, the storage for such items at the church could happen in the choir room, which the church has already done this past year. This requires a time commitment, but as we've already seen, it's very important to get the people to help so they are not victimized. And in conclusion, since children are the main ones on the streets here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and there is a risk of them being victimized, it is very important to get these resources to the churches to get to the mission, and this is very possible. God bless.